Welcome, everybody. This is our first guest speaker, and I'm excited to have a fellow St. Joe's alum join us this morning for our MKT 353 sports marketing class. So I'd like to introduce and welcome Kellie Barnes, who is the email marketing manager from the Philadelphia Flyers. Kellie, welcome, and thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I guess why don't you just first start off just telling everybody a little bit about yourself? I know probably you know some of the folks here, but why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you're doing at the Flyers, and how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I graduated from St. Joe's in 2018. And when I was in college, I interned with the Flyers. I interned a couple different departments for a few different things, mostly in our sales and service departments. And then when I graduated college, I started working as a sales associate with Hair Splitzer Sports and Entertainment. They are the ownership group of the Sixers and the New Jersey Devils. So I was working mostly primarily on the New Jersey Devils side of things, selling tickets. It was a very entry-level job, really just kind of get your feet wet in sports and kind of get started learning about the business. I was in that role for about 6 months when I had somebody who I had known at the Flyers call me about a job in the ticket sales department as their coordinator. And that job was a little bit more kind of behind the scenes of the sales department, planning events. It had a little bit of marketing aspects to it. So I ended up taking that job, and I was in that role for about 2.5, 3 years. During COVID, we went through a lot of changes just internally with people leaving the company, leaving sports, and a job opened up in our marketing department that I was familiar with in our advertising role. So I work on the advertising team now as email marketing manager. So my primary job is just building and sending all of our emails for the Philadelphia Flyers. For our sales department, our service department, just our general marketing department, as well as our charities team. And then we also do emails for our premium services. So those are, your suites, your club level, your luxury boxes. I also do all of our emails for the Wings as well. So Philadelphia Wings, National Lacrosse League, we own that team. So my day-to-day is just building and sending a lot of emails, which sounds boring, but I promise you it's pretty fun. So typically what I do is I write the copy for all the emails. I have our graphics team help build out different, graphic design elements that we can use in our emails. And then I utilize our platforms to kind of hard code them and then be able to send them out to people. So typically on an average week, I'm sending between 10 and 12 emails to a couple 100,000 people. It's an interesting job and it's really fun. We get to do a lot of stuff around the season and really kind of be on the front lines of promotions. So in addition to the email side of things, which is my primary responsibility, I also do just a lot of general promotions within our advertising department. I run our student rush discount program for college students. I run our military ticket discount program for military members and veterans. And then I also help out, I actually run our NIL program. So I partner with college athletes to help promote the Flyers and our student rush tickets. So that's kind of the main responsibilities of my role. I also kind of have a hand in any of the theme nights we have going on for the Flyers and also help out with the Wings too. So that's kind of me in a nutshell, what I do day to day.
Okay. So talk us through a little bit about just sort of, that transition from, working in a sales role to then, now working on a marketing side of things, which, obviously is probably more project-based than it is just revenue generating, kind of activities.
Yeah, for sure. So at the end of the day, our company is about generating revenue. We are a business, and that's the primary focus of our company is generate revenue. So I would say starting on the sales side of things was really helpful for me because I got to gain a lot of experience in how sports teams generate revenue. And I work really closely with our ticket sales and service teams now. Most of the emails I'm sending have some sort of sales element to them, whether it be for tickets or for charity, and we're trying to get people to register for an event, or whether it's, just about buying, single game tickets or merchandise for a game. So sales is lifeblood of any sports organization, pretty much. There's this diagram. I'm not sure if anyone's ever seen it, but it's a tree, and the trunk of the tree is kind of the sales department, And if you sell, you can get higher, merchandise contracts, you get higher broadcasting contracts. If you have a sold out arena, you can get higher sponsorship deals. So sales is really kind of where everything starts. And being a part of that department and moving into marketing really helped me kind of gain a lot of experience and just be able to have knowledge on how, our sales actually runs and how that side of the business works. So it's really important. A lot of the entry-level jobs are in sales and sports, and sometimes it's intimidating. It's not always the most, exciting role or the most, glamorous role in the world, but, starting in sales really helped me kind of transition into a marketing role, just having that background.
Okay. One of the topics we are talking about this week in our class is market research and the importance of gathering data. How much of that do you work with or on in terms of, using analytics or using your CRM systems to send not just an email or a promotional email, but the right one to the right person that fits their needs?
Yeah, it's super important. And it's really grown a lot over the past, I would say, like 5-6 years since I've been working in the industry. When I first started, our analytics team was about 3 people, and now they're about 10. So they've grown tremendously just with like the sheer number of data points we can, calculate and use. So I work really closely with our analytics team. I'm actually involved in, we're implementing a data warehouse, which how that works is it basically holds all of our data, and we can use it to, we can put different data points in there, whether we have data from our ticketing system or data from our CRM, and our data warehouse can kind of aggregate all of that data and really kind of clean it up and give us a very, clear picture of what our fan base and our database looks like. But when I use data pretty much every day in our emails. So when we are thinking about sending out a sales email for, say, it's a premium club event that we want to invite people out to, we're going to look at the data and say, okay, who's spending the most money coming to Flyers games? And we want to target those people because this is a premium product that costs a lot of money for people. So we want to target people who are used to spending that amount of money coming to a game. We use data looking at lifetime spend as well. If this person spent, this amount of money over the lifetime with the Flyers, they're a good option for a season ticket holder because they're coming out to a lot of games. And then we can target them an email that's based on season tickets versus somebody who only comes to 1 or 2 games. They might get an email about single game tickets or a partial plan. So we use data almost every time we send an email to figure out who is the best person to send what sort of messaging to. We also use it a lot for personalization. So if we're sending an email out to somebody and we want to use, their first name in it, we can use that data and find that and put that in an email. I did one last year where I actually put people's first name on the locker room stall. So they got an email and it was a good jersey and it had their last name on the locker room stall. And that was really cool because we had the data and we were able to use that and create a really cool personalized email.
Yeah, so I guess one of the great things about technology now in sports is that whenever you do an email campaign, right, you get the back end sort of results in terms of click-throughs and bounce backs and all of those, the results of that campaign that you've executed. Have you ever had any surprise emails where you thought okay, I'm going to send this out and with a low expectation and it ended up being a lot better, or maybe even vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, email metrics are super important to me and just kind of how I do my job and judge what I'm doing. We do a lot of A/B testing. So if we have different ideas that maybe we don't agree on internally, what we'll do is we'll just test it and we'll say, okay, we'll send an A/B test and figure out who, where the best, fit is for this email. So something I did last year was I did a lot of A/B testing on subject lines. So when we pick out a subject line, we want to judge based on open rates and click rates and say, okay, who's opening this email based on the subject line? And we actually found that really specific subject lines got a lot more opens than more like general subject lines. So I started to use very specific and almost like lengthy subject lines to get people to open emails, which I thought it would be the opposite. I thought short, concise would be the way to go, but people really opened more of the emails that had very specific long subject lines. So that was something that was surprising for me. But yeah, we utilize A/B testing all the time. We do it a lot with if we want to include a player on something. So we'll start out, we'll say, okay, let's test the first 10% of the emails that are going to go out, and we'll include a player on 5%, and we'll just include a logo on the other 5%. And then we can see, okay, the player performed better. We even test it sometimes player against player. If we put, Sean Couturier on a graphic versus Scott Lawton, who's going to perform better on the graphic. And sometimes there's no real difference, or there's a very minimal difference, but you'd be surprised. Sometimes it turns out that certain players perform better on marketing materials, or, a logo versus a player performs better.
All right. Well, I guess, what I'm curious about, and I'm sure some of the students are curious, tell me a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like. What's a typical day look like for you? Are you working virtually now still? Are you working at the center? What's like your normal schedule?
Yeah, I'm almost entirely back in the office. I'm usually in about 4 days a week, sometimes 5 days a week, depending on what's going on. And personally, I prefer that. I think that in marketing, we're able to kind of bounce ideas off each other a lot more easier in the office. But yeah, I am primarily in the office 4 to 5 days a week now, at Wells Fargo Center. We have a really cool office setting where we're in the arena, so we can kind of access the arena whenever we want. If we have any, sometimes we'll want to take a picture of some part in the arena, we want to highlight an email, we can just go out and take the picture ourselves, add it to the email right away, and then we're good to go. So yeah, I'm in the arena 4 to 5 days a week. I work most of our game days, our home games, depending on what activations we have going on that night for marketing. And then we also have different events that I help with too, whether they're around the city, different pop-up events that we have for marketing. We're leading into our Flyers Hype Week, which goes into our home opener. So it's the second week in October. And during that week, we try and do different pop-ups around the city. We partner with a lot of bars and restaurants to, drop off coasters that they can use for the bar. We do a lot of just different stuff around the city to get people excited about the Flyers season. So my day-to-day is in the office primarily. Like I said, building a lot of emails, and then just also helping out with different promotional stuff we have going on.
Okay. Sounds great. One of the things we've talked about in class so far is the challenges that marketers face when you don't have any control over wins and losses or team performance. And so, when you're looking at sort of as a Flyers fan, you're looking at it as sort of a rebuilding sort of process right now going on with the team. How does that affect the marketing? Does it force you guys to think more creative in terms of promotions? Like what's exciting, or what's coming up this season that fans are going to get excited about?
Yeah, it definitely is a challenge that I'll be honest, it's my first time really facing it this much. The Flyers, when I've worked there, have typically been pretty good. Last year we did not make the playoffs, and this year we had a bit of a disappointing offseason. So it is definitely a challenge for our team. Like you said, we cannot control the wins and losses. So something I try and do to find different ways to engage the fan base in a positive way is just find positive content. Our social media team is really good at getting a lot of positive content from our players. We recently did a big behind the scenes with one of our prospects, Wade Allison, that we put out in a lot of emails. So we're trying to find positive things to talk about, and really kind of behind the scenes with players, because it's a little more personal that way. People, can see more than just the wins and losses. And also we just try and find different ways to get people in the arena. We recently released a new ticket package called our Flyers Pass. So it's 4 games, it's $99 a month, and you basically don't get to pick your seat or your games. We assign the games, we assign the seats, but it's the cheapest ticket package to get in the building. So we try and find different tactics and strategies to market out to people when we're not playing as well. And then also just try and find new creative ways to have different theme nights going on to get people down to the arena. I work with my coworker, Ben. He does all of our giveaways and our theme nights. So he's trying to get a lot of creative stuff happening where, we might have a bobblehead giveaway that people will come down to, or, we might do a really cool Star Wars night that would get people into the building and get some people excited about something other than the team. But yeah, it is a challenge, especially when there's a lot of negativity in the fan base. It kind of weighs on us sometimes too, just being in the office and hearing that a lot. But yeah, definitely have to be creative and just try and find positive content, behind the scenes content, things that people will be happy to look at and read and view.
Yeah, we took a look at that Flyers Pass. We've talked a little bit about this concept of sort of this, this pass, and MLB's been doing a lot of it, either in the beginning of the season or at the end of the season to try to supplement attendance and try to drive attendance. And I saw we did see that the Flyers are doing this, and I guess I'm curious to see, who is the typical target for that product? Is it a younger demographic? Who's sort of, when you identify or develop a product like that, who are you trying to engage?
Yeah, definitely a younger demographic who might not spend as much money on tickets, doesn't really care about where they're sitting or what games they're coming to. People who live locally, who are close by, who can get down to the arena pretty easily, and just people who are, not afraid to not have a seat. I think sometimes when you think older demographic, they might have, a specific seat they want, a specific section. Some of our season ticket holders have sat in the same seats for 40 years and they're not moving out of those seats. So we're thinking about people who are younger, who don't really care as much about where they're sitting. And they're more kind of spontaneous in a way, which they might live locally. They might be, closer to the arena.
Yeah, that's so true in hockey. You're like the hardcore Flyers fans. If you talk to any season ticket holder, the first thing they'll say is, "Oh, I'm down the end where the Flyers shoot twice." They're like,
yeah,
they know. Like they very specific on where they sit, and that's different than other sports, right? Where it's baseball, it's just like, hey, I want to be in the ballpark. So that's interesting that this is a product that you don't know where you're going to sit until 24 hours, 72 hours, before the game. How's the product going? I mean, is the reception been good on it? I mean, how's it?
Yeah, we got some positive reception on it. I think the other thing that's interesting with it too is that it's an opt out, so it's monthly. So if you can't, if December's really busy for you and you don't want to go in December, you can opt out December, hop back in February or January. So it's been pretty well received. It's something we've never done in the past. Honestly, we've never had the extra inventory seating wise to do it in the past. So, we're trying different things just to get people in the building. And there was a lot of positive, press about it, positive PR about it. And it is going well. And I'm excited to see kind of what the response is on that. So once we start playing.
Yeah, no, that's great. All right. So I know we're going to try to keep you here for, about a half hour. So what I'll do is we've got a fairly large class here. And so I wanted to be able to open it up to some questions and give it, the students an opportunity to ask anything that you have for Kellie in terms of, anything about her role or, the job or working in sports. So does anybody have any questions? I know most of you are muted, but you certainly can chime in here. Don't be shy.
I have one.
Okay, look.
So you said you worked in sales. Would you say it was really important for you to be in sales before you went into marketing so that the trends of consumers and what helps with each promotion that you create?
Yeah, I would say most people, so my team's about 7 people on it. 3 of us started in sales, and I would say we get leaned on a lot just to have that background. And I think it's really valuable to have that background. People don't have to start in sales. There's tons of ways to break into the industry. But for me, I just working so closely with promotions and the sales team and then end goal selling tickets. It's really beneficial for me just to have that background, and also just having the background of our CRM and our ticketing software. We do a lot of emails based on ticketing transactions. So we'll send out an email to people who are coming to the game that night. And I have to go through and kind of identify on the back end, all right, what's the game code for this game? What's the item code? And, all that background just came from working in the ticketing software as a sales rep. So I think it is definitely very beneficial. It's not the only way to break into the marketing department in sales, or in sports, but it definitely helped me out a lot just having that background.
Anybody else? Good question, Luke. All right. Well, you guys think of a couple questions. I'm gonna ask. So, Kellie, I think it's interesting because we talk about and we hear that sales is the entry into sports, right? And so I think you're kind of a great example of someone who was able to not only get that first sort of opportunity in sports through sales, but then be able to move into a different department, which it doesn't always happen that way. And so I guess the question becomes is, what was your experience in sales? What did you, because I know a lot of the students are hesitant when I say sales. It's like, ooh, I don't know if I want to go down that path. But what was your sort of experience in the sales role as it relates to, when you worked in there?
Yeah, definitely. So working in sales and sports, like it's pretty different from working in sales in other organizations. Most people who start in sales are all out of college. Everyone's kind of in the same boat as you. They're new and they're trying to get, their feet wet in the industry. So it's pretty exciting. My inside sales class when I worked at the Sixers, we still stay in touch. We all, some of us still work in the industry, some of us don't, but we still have that network to bounce ideas off of and talk to. And I think the big thing about working in sales and sports is just, building your network with people. When I worked in sales, I was able to help out with a ton of different departments because, we helped out with different promotions. We were on site for stuff, and it helped me build a really good network that really helped me advance into different departments and into different roles. So I would say it's great to start there. I wouldn't regret it at all. It's a tough job. It's a lot of just grinding it out every day, but it's one of those things where I started in sales and I said, okay, I'm going to give myself a year to get promoted. And if I don't get promoted in a year, I can go somewhere else. I can get another job. It's not the end of the world. And I got promoted in 6 months and then, kind of grew up from there. But, it's a bit of a grind, it's a lot of on the phones. It's a lot of just, cold calling, but building that foundation of, using a CRM, using a ticketing platform, it can lead you to a ton of different departments. I had people I worked with in inside sales who now work in our box office because they have a really good knowledge of our ticketing platform and they're able to kind of build out, different ticketing software. People who I worked with in inside sales work in marketing, they work in events and operations. So it really just leads you down to a ton of different paths because you're so involved on the ground floor.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions? Don't be shy.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So in regards to sponsorships, do you ever use your sponsors in the types of emails that you send out or anything?
Yes, that's a great question and something I've actually worked a lot recently on. So our sponsors actually, they get different, and depending on the deal they have certain assets we have to deliver on in emails. So they might get, a banner ad in an email that we have to include, or if they're sponsoring, Penn Medicine sponsors the Gritty 5K. So anytime we send out a Gritty 5K email, Penn Medicine has to be included on that. And it's interesting with them because they definitely want to know the metrics for the emails that they're included on. So I have to work with our partnerships team to be like, okay, this email went out, this ad was listed on there, here's what the clicks were on this ad, because the sponsor is interested in it and interested in how the email did. But yeah, we work really closely with partnerships on that. We also work closely with them on giveaways too, because a lot of times a partner will sponsor a giveaway. So it'll be, here's this reusable flyers bag sponsored by Pico. And then their logo will be on there. And then any promotion we do around the giveaway, we have to include Pico in. So we work with them very closely. And there's a really tight relationship between partnerships and marketing because we often include them in a lot of our stuff and it's included in a lot of their deals.
Yeah, that's a great point in terms of some of the requirements that you have to put into emails are based on contractual obligations from different sponsors. And what about the league office? Does the league have sort of guidelines that you have to adhere to that sort of creates consistency amongst all the different teams throughout the league?
So this past year, we actually had to send a monthly league email, and it was just very generic that the entire NHL would send out to their fan bases. We do have different guidelines in terms of logos. So if a team changes their primary logo, we get a message from the NHL. If you're using, this logo and anything, sometimes we use it if we're promoting like Flyers versus Penguins tomorrow night, but the Penguins change their primary logo, then we'll get a message from the league, hey, please use this logo for Penguins if you're using them in promotion. So we do get different guidelines from them. And we also try and work closely with the league because at the end of the day, the league's job is to help us, sell tickets, to help all the teams sell tickets. So I do a lot of calls with the league and talk to them about trends and about what other teams are seeing and about different ways that, we can improve upon based off what's worked in other markets.
Okay. Sounds great. Anybody else have any questions?
I have another one.
Okay, sure. Yeah, go for it.
So for like marketing and like your ticket sales, do you work like really closely with like the social media team to like know the trends that go on like in the world and on social media to like help with promotions?
Yeah, we definitely work closely with them. Our social media team is like more under our content umbrella in marketing, but we work with them a lot. If we're doing a larger campaign, we'll want to include a social aspect to it. So we'll talk to our social media manager and see, okay, what can we post on the Instagram account? What can we post on Twitter? And we'll work with him to kind of get a more holistic view of the campaign and how we'll include social. And then also we just use them to help with a lot of content, because sometimes we are struggling for team content. They're a lot closer to the team side of things. Our social media manager, Brian, he actually travels with the team. So he goes to all the away games and he'll send us content from away games we can include in emails. He actually went to, when we played the bubble playoffs in Toronto, he was actually in the bubble. So he was sending us content from the bubble that we could use in our emails and our campaigns. So yeah, we work very closely with them. We're also just kind of like involved in like a brainstorming side of things too. So sometimes like our TikTok creator will come over and say, hey, I want to make a TikTok. I'm struggling to come up with ideas. Can we sit down for 10 minutes and brainstorm, and we'll all talk together. But yeah, we definitely utilize social media and our social media team a lot in our campaigns.
Great. I guess we got a couple minutes here, so I got I guess a few more questions for you. So number one, I guess, what do you love about your job? What energizes you? What excites you about your job?
Yeah, I would say being behind the scenes and being a part of the team and kind of seeing a game come together is so much fun. I started with the Flyers in 2018, and that was actually the year we brought the Wings back for the NLL. And getting that home opener up and running was so much work, because we had no groundwork, no path, no set we can follow from last year. So we were kind of starting from scratch with so many things of like, what do we do for the home opener? How do we get fans in the building? You know, even just logistically, how do we introduce the players? And that was so rewarding, just kind of seeing that come to life. And it's the same with the Flyers too. Being behind the scenes on a game day and seeing everything that you work really hard on just come to life in the arena is really exciting for me. When I was in college, I was on the cheerleading team, and I got to, you know, be behind the scenes at basketball games, and I really enjoyed that. So when I started working in sports, it was kind of the same thing. You know, you're behind the scenes, you're a part of this bigger team, bigger organization, and it's really fun and exciting. And then, you know, my family goes to a lot of games. They get to see the stuff that I put on, and that's really cool too. So I just love being a part of the larger experience and in the larger organization, and seeing, you know, all the fun memories and things we can do for our fans.
Yeah. So fun fact, and for the students here, I'll tell you more about this probably in the next week or so. My senior year, I interned at the Wells Fargo Center, and one of the things I had to do when I look back on that internship, I had to be the Philadelphia Wings mascot for a few events. So I was actually a mascot. That's definitely under the other responsibilities as assigned on the job description. So I guess the last question I have, and again, thank you so much for being here. The last question I have for you is just what advice would you have, you know, now looking back on it, you know, for that junior, senior at St. Joe's? What advice would you have for how are they going to get into sports? What best advice do you have for them to do now that will help them, you know, move their career forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just building out your network of people. I think that when I was in college, we had a lot of guest speakers. We had a lot of people. I was in sports marketing club, and we had a lot of people come to events. And I just tried as best I could to build my network, to first help me get an internship. And then once I got the internship, build my network within the organization. And then, you know, once I got a full-time job, just kind of maintain that network. It's something I still do to this day. I still reach out to people from other teams and just try and build a network. And really at the end of the day, someone told me this once, you know, when there's a job opening in a team, you want to be recommended. You want someone to say, I know this person, they're a great fit for this job, we should hire them. That happened to me when I started with the Flyers, my first full-time role. Someone reached out to me on LinkedIn. They said, you're a great fit for this role, we want you to apply for it. And that was really kind of what got me into the marketing department and got me into the Flyers. So I would say just building out your network is so important. Even if it's just messaging people on LinkedIn, using SJU Connects to set up calls with people in sports, just kind of building that out and maintaining those relationships is really, really important. And I would say too, like, look at other opportunities. I'm going to put a plug in for an opportunity that we have opening at the Flyers. We are hiring game day assistants for our department. It's really easy to apply. There's no real application. You just have to pass a background check. And then my coworker Ben sends out an email before games we need help with and says, hey, we have a game this week. Anyone able to come? And you don't have to come to us. You can do as little or as many events you want. It's paid too, so you'll get paid for it. And it's a really great opportunity to put something on your resume that you worked in sports or that you helped out in sports. So I'll definitely send information over to you once we have it, and you guys can apply for it if you're interested. But I would say look into those opportunities as well. I know the Eagles do game day assistants, the Sixers do them too. So just look into different opportunities that might get you that start into an internship and get you meeting people and get you hired for something.
Yeah, that would be great. So yeah, if you could send me over that, I can forward that along to everybody. I know some of the folks here are going to be working with the Eagles this year on their game day staff. So that's an opportunity that sort of came together over the last few weeks, and we're excited about that. But I think anything else, any other opportunities that you hear about would be fantastic. So, well, Kellie, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. I really enjoyed hearing about your story, and we appreciate your time, and hopefully you'll stay in touch with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you guys have any other questions or want to chat, one-off. Feel free to reach out to me.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good one.